Old Sheikh Ahmed says the next round of peace talks will take place in Kuwait on the 18th of April.
After active consultation with His Excellency President Hadi and the Yemeni official in Riyadh and the delegation of Ansarullah and the General People Congress in Sana'a, I am pleased to announce today that parties to the conflict have agreed to a nationwide cessation of hostilities beginning at midnight on the 10th of April, in advance of the upcoming round of the peace talks, which will take place on the 18th of April in Kuwait. I am very grateful to His Highness Prince of Kuwait, Sabah Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah, for offering to host this new round of talk. The talks aim to reach a comprehensive agreement which will end the conflict and allow the resumption of inclusive political dialogue in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 2216.
I'm going to speak to Peter Salisbury now. He's an independent Yemen analyst and journalist. Thanks very much for being with us. So, do you think that this cessation of hostilities is any more likely to last than any of the previous ones?
Well, this is the problem. The envoy has announced today that there'll be an 11-day period or an 8-day period before the talks begin where hostilities will end. We've heard them announce this before, and we haven't really heard what's changed from the beginning of this year, from the end of last year, and from almost a year ago in terms of the attitude of the different parties to the conflict. And in fact, when cessation of hostilities of this kind have been announced in the past, violence has got worse and not decreased in the run-up to an apparent ceasefire. So it's very difficult to see what's changed so significantly that people will behave differently this time around.
There's been some suggestion that things have been a bit calmer on the border, that the sort of cross-border attacks with Saudi Arabia and Yemen have calmed down a bit. Talk us through the significance of that.
Sure. Well, over the past few weeks, what we've been told is there have been direct talks between the Houthis and the government of Saudi Arabia. And it's important to remember here that Saudi Arabia is incredibly important to the anti-Houthi and anti-Saleh war effort in Yemen. They're funding it, they're equipping fighters who are fighting against them, and they're obviously running this huge aerial campaign. And what would appear to have happened is that some kind of deal has been reached where they don't launch attacks on the border and they reduce the number of attacks in Houthi-held areas by their air force. And the Houthis at the same time have agreed not to launch attacks over the border. But again, it's very difficult to see what's going to make this stick, given that we've seen a number of really quite significant airstrikes in Houthi-held areas over the past few weeks.
Do you think there could be something else at play? I mean, do you think that the Syrian efforts to sort of broker a solution for the civil war might be having an effect on trying to broker some kind of solution for Yemen, given that some of the players involved are similar?
That's a good question, and there has been talk that Russia has actually been involved quite heavily in making things happen behind the scenes and in setting up a parallel set of negotiations which don't directly involve the UN. How true that is, it's very difficult to say, but the context of Yemen is somewhat different to Syria, in that the Iranian and Russian role is not as pronounced in Yemen as it is in Syria, and the Saudis are front and center in terms of leading the war effort. So there are some similarities, there are some differences, but at this moment in time, the problem is that for Saudi Arabia to really back out and leave the war, it really needs a big win. And most people agree that that big win means taking Sana'a, taking the capital, either through a negotiated process or by force. And at this moment in time, it seems that neither the Houthis nor their allies from the Saleh camp are willing to give Sana'a up. And that leaves only one other option, which is to take it by force.
Peter Salisbury, thank you very much indeed for your analysis of the situation in Yemen. Thank you.